the adolescent brain. So we are in cognitive transitions part 3, and we are going to be jumping ahead in our textbook. So if you're following along with your text, jump ahead a little bit to page 51. And we're going to start with what changes in adolescence, that header. If you need a refresher on the brain or parts of the brain, please feel free to read the prior pages, but for lecture's sake, we are going to skip ahead. Oops, sorry. There we go. The adolescent brain really starts to become remodeled through two things. The first thing is synaptic pruning, so removing those connections, and then the second one is myelination in certain brain regions. Myelination and pruning are both stimulated by puberty and experiences. And those two things start to change both the structure and the function of the brain. So let's talk about the changes in the structure. Synaptic pruning and myelination show dramatic results in the prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex regulates our thoughts, our actions, our emotions. Particularly, like I said in the last video, planning and thinking ahead and controlling our impulses. Speaking specifically on emotion, the regulation of emotions and the coordination of thoughts and feelings does improve with better connectivity between the prefrontal cortex and the limbic system. It's important to remember that there is considerable variation or variability even among those in the same age in brain maturation. This could be due to genetics and the environmental influences, but because not all adolescents follow an identical path, I just want you to know that that is what can lead to the differences in how people behave. There are changes in the function of the brain as well. The two most important changes in the brain function involve the prefrontal cortex, or we're going to call it the PFC here in this slide. First, patterns of activation within the PFC generally become more focused. Adolescents improve in two areas. The first is response inhibition. This is the suppression of behavior that's inappropriate or no longer required. And the second one is executive function. This is what you should be doing right now. This is more advanced thinking ability enabled by maturation of the prefrontal cortex, especially in early adolescence. The second, adolescents start to become able to use multiple parts of the brain at the same time. This is called coordination between prefrontal areas and other areas in the brain in the limbic system. Oh, I'm sorry. I said this is called, but that's what it is. It's called functional connectivity. My apologies. I'm going to leave that error in. So again, functional connectivity is the coordination between prefrontal areas, other areas of the brain, so the prefrontal area and the limbic system, for example. Both of these changes lead to a greater efficiency in information processing. Let's talk about the social brain. Most mammals become more social around the time of puberty, probably because of sexual maturation and they're trying to find a mate. But in adolescent humans, changes in the brain regions called the social brain start to bring about new perceptions and new behaviors. For instance, they become more sensitive to social cues. This might explain why an adolescent is so susceptible to social influence like peer pressure. They also increase sensitivity to facial expressions, which seems to be influenced by the increase in sex hormones released during puberty. We see some research that supports that. Another is increases in sensitivity to others' mental states. And this corresponds to changes in brain activity, which allows the person to observe and understand other people. However, this sensitivity varies significantly on the influence of others, yet again. Okay, at this time, what I would like for you to do is turn your attention to the two supplemental videos that are listed. The first one is a TED Talk called The Mysterious Workings of the Adolescent Brain, and it features Sarah Jane Blakemore. It's a TED Talk. The second one is a very quick YouTube video by Dan Siegel, and it's called The Adolescent Brain. It's very good as well. So that's what I would like for you to do next instead of moving on to the next video. That concludes this video.